White. Wide open, Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz. Just 3 games left in this NFL season. Happy Tuesday, January 23rd to all of you. It's all come down to this. So excited about these 2 football games we have on Sunday. This Sunday, we're going to have NFL Pub Hub at 12 p.m. Eastern. Then we're going to be live for both of these monster football games. Troy Torrence, happy Bankroll Blitz to you, my friend. How are you?
I'm going to enjoy this because there's only 2 shows left, and it's fucking sad, man. Oh, man, I should excuse my language early in the video. But, dude, I'm excited to be here, man. It's very sad, very sad. My heart melted when you said 3 games left, and it's sad to imagine what life's going to be like without football in a few weeks. So going to enjoy it while it lasts, man.
Well, I'm going to enjoy today's show very much because I have spent most of my thoughts since the divisional round ended on how to attack these games because they're so depending on I mean, it doesn't even matter really what side you want. There's a lot of money to be made. If you like the favorites, you could come in very confident. If you like these dogs, you come in very confident. Total wide, like it's just these are great angles to attack, and I have attacked them, and I'm excited. I'm pumped up, and I can't wait to talk it all out. The week that was for me disappointing. I had a big bet on the 49ers double result, so it was a winning week, but 3-3 unit-wise here on the show. Cash 49ers double result. Lost Tampa Detroit first half over 24. Cash Tampa Bay Detroit full game over 48.5. Cash the Chiefs +3. Lost KC Buffalo under 46 and lost Buccaneers +6. So 3-3 down 0.2 units. Talk to us about the week that was for you.
My week was a roller coaster, man. I feel like I should have came up a lot more than I actually did. I was on the Ravens very confidently. I had Ravens -9.5. That cashed. I had a double result parlayed with the Lions money line. And we all know how that finished with the punt return, the only touchdown the Texans scored before the first half ended. That was painful. I had Ravens double result with likely 25+ yards. And I did lose both of those bets that I had on the double result, but I did get in live. It was pretty clear to me that there was going to be some easy adjustments made by that Ravens offense. Lamar Jackson almost looked shell-shocked. He hasn't played in 3 weeks. Maybe he was shell-shocked, but he didn't see. Houston Texans came out with a completely new scheme that they have not run all season long. And it took him a while to adjust. Once he had the tablet in front of him at half, he made the adjustments, came out and crushed them the second half. So I was happy about that. 49ers double result. And actually, while I was watching that game, I moved on the Packers +7.5. Just seeing how dominant that offensive line is for the Packers was incredible. I had Lions double result, and that finished with a 95-yard drive with 80 seconds left and crushed me at half to tie the game. But I did cash the Lions -6. Had Laporta over 4.5 receptions. That cashed in the first half very easily. Then I was extremely heavy on the Bills, and we all seen what happened there. I don't feel like I was slighted or it had some unfavorable variance. I feel like the right team won in this case. Bills -2.5 lost. Bills Lions moneyline parlay lost. Bills Ravens moneyline parlay lost. Bills lost. Bills -3 lost. And then the worst part of this game for me, James Cook over 82.5 rushing plus receiving. We had this covered going into the fourth quarter. He had 90 rushing plus receiving. On his last 6 touches, he moved down 8 yards. I got hit by the hook. The old hooker got me. He finished at 82, and that was a loss. It finished down 5.23 units this week.
Yeah, that was ugly. I followed that along with that Cook spot. That was very, very ugly and a tough break. Despite all that, you have a spectacular season record. 52.4% with an average line of plus 131 is unbelievable. ROI still over 10%. So you are in business. It's great to see all of you guys here joining us. We got Perky, Sammy, Calmer on the Chiefs +3 interest in San Francisco Detroit under. J Dub in the house is so excited for his Lions. Best season of them in his life. J Dub, it is richly deserved. I'm so happy for Lions fans everywhere. Slatsy's right back on it with the Chiefs +3.5. We got Sky Dragon who says Chiefs game under is the best play on the board. Clear, easy to see value there. There's Jonathan Yim in the house. Great to see you, Uncle Jay. We got Nick, Birdie, Gerald Jones, Terry Walker, the Nuke Worker, and Marcus McCarthy. Birdie, by the way, saying Noah Gray's over 9.5 yards right now at -110. Says get that soon. It is time to get to work, and I can't wait to do it. I'm very excited about these two games. So let's go. Game 1, 3 p.m. Eastern, the AFC Championship. Kansas City Chiefs 13-6, 7-2 on the road at the Baltimore Ravens 14-4, 7-3 at home. An important note market-wise for both of these games is since 2004, 2005, 14 conference championship home favorites have seen the line move towards them. The line, it doesn't matter what book really you look at, the line has moved towards both of the favorites here. And when that's happened in the 14 conference championship that home favorites have seen the line move towards them, 10 of them have covered the spread, 10-4 against the spread. Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. I read people talking about how there's going to be inclement weather, how it's going to be raining. I see possible light rain. I don't see the weather as an issue at all. And of course that could change, but I kept reading people saying, oh, well, what about the weather in Baltimore? I don't see it. I went through 4 or 5 different sites on weather, and I was like, so 12-mile-per-hour winds. So some say there's going to be gusts in the first half. I don't see that. I see possible light rain. So I don't see a big deal here. I had planned on being on the Chiefs. I was on the Chiefs last week very comfortably, and I capped myself off of the Chiefs. Not only did I cap myself off of the Chiefs, I hit the Ravens harder than I expected to. I'm on the Ravens double result at +105. I'm on the Ravens -3.5. And it's the most money I have invested in a game all year. And maybe it's the right time for it. Maybe it's the right time for it. The Chiefs are back in the conference final for the 6th straight season. Let's take a look at the line history here. And the line, as I said, has been moving towards these Ravens. I'm going to do a refresh just to see what's happened in the last half an hour, but I've been watching it pretty closely. Right now, on my site, we have, and it's a line site that gives me lines on all sorts of offshores, not the actual Pinnacle site, but it's got Pinnacle opening up Baltimore -3.5 at +104. Now -3.5 at -111. A 15-cent move towards the Baltimore Ravens. When I get into the total for this one, we are sitting here at a 44.5. This opened up at 44.5. It dropped down to 44, and then it came back up to 44.5 this afternoon. It's exactly where it opened at Pinnacle. There's been no movement. From a cash side of things, you have 51% of the tickets and 67% of the cash on the Baltimore Ravens. That's 58,569 tickets in. And you have 30% of the tickets and 51% of the cash on the under. We have Dennis Garcia saying that the under is a great spot, and it might be, something that I add. Again, let me just state one more time. I came into this cap expecting to be back on the Chiefs, but I can't do it after capping this game and sitting with it for hours upon hours. The Chiefs coming up their 4th straight win, 27-24 at the Bills on Sunday in the divisional round. Mahomes won his first true road game. So 13-3 he is in the postseason. 17-23 for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kelsey caught 5 for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. These 2 touchdowns that he caught from Kelsey, 15th and 16th, they've combined from the playoffs. That breaks the Brady Gronkowski record, MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling caught 2 passes for 62 yards, no touchdowns. Rashee Rice caught 4 for 47, looked banged up throughout the game. Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries for 97 yards and touchdown. He looked very good. They only had the ball for 22 minutes and 57 seconds. In that time, they averaged 7.7 yards per play and put up 361 total yards. I stated the only reason why I was on the Chiefs was because of these injuries that had accumulated on the Bills defense. And I did not believe that the Bills defense was as good as their numbers had shown they were over the last quarter of the season. I was pretty sure of it. I don't remember being this confident, even while we were watching the game live, that the Bills defense was going to let them down. The Chiefs just 1 for 5 on third down, only 5 third down opportunities. When they had the ball, they rolled comfortably. 6th in the NFL, converting 42.92% of third down opportunities. They were 2 for 4 in the red zone. They were, bottom half of the league in the red zone all season long. 19th, 52.1% of red zone drives they scored touchdowns in. The Chiefs pass rush was very underwhelming. 0 sacks and just 2 quarterback hits. The Ravens pass rush had 0 sacks. The 49ers pass rush had 0 sacks. It was very interesting to watch. This Chiefs pass rush came in averaging 3.3 sacks a game. That was second in the NFL behind the Ravens. The Bills were 7 of 14 on third down. The Chiefs are 8th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 36.4% of third down opportunities. The Bills were 3 for 4 in the red zone. Chiefs are 10th in the league, allowing opponents to score touchdowns on 51.9% of red zone drives. The Chiefs secondary is 2nd in the league, allowing just 1.1 passing touchdowns a game. But they looked vulnerable at times to me. The Bills ran the ball 39 times for 182 yards against the Chiefs. The Chiefs had no answer for the run game until Spagnuolo changed things in the fourth quarter, sending full house run blitzes. And that worked. So you can look at that 2 different ways. You can say that if the Bills rush offense did that to the Chiefs, wait until you see what the Ravens do. Or you could say that was a good trial run for the Chiefs. It will prepare them to take on the Ravens, a run-heavy offense. At first, I thought that the latter, that this would prepare them. But the more I sat with the stats, the more I became very concerned for Chiefs backers. And the more I realized there was a lot of us that made money on the Chiefs in the divisional round, and there's going to be a lot of them that are going to go right back to the well. That's how your subconscious screws you. It screws you because you're going to have a bias towards what you just cashed on. It happens to all of us. It's so easy to go back to the well. So I knew that there's going to be a ton of money coming in on the Chiefs, and that got me more. It started to build the excitement to back the Ravens. The Ravens run the ball 51% of the time, the highest in the league. They average 5 yards per carry. The Chiefs' run defense, 30th in rush EPA per play. That includes the playoffs. The Chiefs rank 25th in opponent's yard per carry, giving up 4.5 yards per rush. And more bad news came in. Joe Thuney dealing with a pec strain. If Thuney can't play, Nick Allegretti will be expected to make the start. Derek Nottie, the defensive lineman, missed the Bills game. He's probably going to be out again this past week. Safety Mike Edwards is in concussion protocol. If it's Justin Reed and Shamari Connor that are having to fill the void, I mean, it's very possible that he can get out of concussion protocol. They need him. Willie Gay tweeted his neck. He missed most of the Bills game. And we went over stats last week that have since improved. The Chiefs are 9-5 straight up, 10-3-1 against the spread as underdogs since Mahomes took over as quarterback in 2018. They're 8-0-1 against the spread as a road dog. I was using those numbers to my advantage last week, and now I'm expecting to use them again to my advantage by fading them, because everybody's going to be going over them and over them and over them, and so many of us made money last week, and so many are going to go right back to the well. The Kansas City defense hasn't given up 28 points in the game this season. They're the 5th team in NFL history to do so in 19 games, including playoffs. No team has ever done that in 20 games in the season. Now, you could say that's because of the extra game that we have in the regular season. That would be a valid point. And Baltimore side of things, hosting the AFC title game for the first time since 1971, when the Colts beat the Raiders on their way to the Super Bowl. Baltimore and M&T is going to be bananas. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, Mahomes has dealt with it before. He can go to the line of the scrimmage and use hand signals to change the play. He's going to have to do that, because this is a real home field advantage. Ravens coming off the dominant 34-10 victory at home over the Houston Texans in the divisional round. Lamar 16-22 for 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ran 11 times for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. 13 touchdown passes he's thrown over the last 5 games. He wasn't sacked, and he faced a career-high blitz rate of 75%. And you touched on that when you talked about him not being properly prepared. He's never seen that before. And he went 13 of 18 for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns against the blitz. He got more comfortable as the game went on. And Steve Spagnuolo has the 5th highest blitz rate in the league, so we're going to expect more of that. So it was a great experience for him to go through before this week. Jackson, Hill, Edwards, and Dalvin Cook rushed 42 times for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns. What are they going to do to the Chiefs' rush defense? Lamar became the first quarterback since at least 1948 in the regular season or playoffs with 2 touchdown passes, 2 TD runs, 100 yards rushing, and 100 passer rating in the same game. The win improved Jackson's playoff record to just 2-3. Look, everybody's talking about it. He hears it, that he can't win the big game. Well, now he gets to go up against Mahomes. It's a perfect situation for him to break through these demons. Zay Flowers led receivers with 4 catches, 41 yards. Bateman 3 for 39, likely 2 for 34 and a touchdown. Mark Andrews did not return to the lineup. We expect him to be here this week. Maybe he won't. He suffered the cracked fibula and ligament damage to his right ankle in that hit from Logan Wilson. I expect him to be there. He was designated to return on January 16th. The Ravens were 4 of 12 on third down. They're 8th in the league on third down offensively. They were 4 of 5 in the red zone. They're 6th in the league, scoring touchdowns 63% of their red zone drives. Their defense, we've talked about it all year. Number 2 in EPA allowed per play. Number 1 in defensive DVOA. Number 1 pass rush in the league. And they only had 5 quarterback hits. They didn't get any sacks. They held the Texans to 213 yards and 10 first downs. They completely shut down the Houston running game, holding them to 38 yards on 14 attempts. The Ravens are 6th in the league, allowing opponents to convert just 36.3% of third down opportunities. They did not make it. The Texans did not make it into the red zone. Right in the red zone, they're the 2nd best defense in the league. The Ravens allow 5.2 yards per pass attempt, the lowest in the NFL. After breaking it all down, I think the Ravens take care of business. Now, you could say this. You could say, what about the league wanting Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl, all that stuff? You could say, you could have those conversations if you want. I just don't want them to be involved in my cap. I don't care about it. I think that the Ravens are a much better team than the Kansas City Chiefs overall, through and through. And it doesn't matter Mahomes' magic. He's incapable of conjuring enough magic to go into M&T Stadium and beat these Baltimore Ravens. Take it away, my man.
Man, that was an incredible breakdown, man. One question I got for you.
Sure.
Hey, where did you get those numbers of home favorites, line move toward them in the conference championship?
I will pull out. I have all those things marked on a different worksheet.
No problem. No problem. I'm just going to go through it. Let me know when you find it. We'll talk after. And I want to tell everybody here, be careful looking at the market so early with cash flow and who's public and who's not. Because last week we were talking about the Texans, the Packers, and the Lions being extremely public plays, but none of them finished being public. None of them finished with 60+% of spread bets or money line bets. So it was very interesting to me to see just the dynamic, the playoff dynamic in the market and how much it changes. But when it comes to Chiefs versus Ravens, I'm the captain of my own ship. What does a captain do when his ship is sinking? He goes down with it. Everyone around me, y'all could grab the lifeboats. I don't need one, nor do I want one. Of course, everyone is going to want Mahomes as a dog. And I'm not going to argue or sway you or none of that. Like I've done in the past, I'm not going to do none of that. All I can do is make the play that I see fit and smile when I do it. You know, you already touched on a lot of this, man. The Chiefs beat the Bills. It turned out to be somewhat of a coin flip-ish game, but I would argue that the Chiefs were the right team on, I think the Chiefs were the right side in that game. I think the best play in that game would have been the Chiefs on a teaser. They made the big plays, and Matt Beavers was talking about it in the chat. The Chiefs were hitting their deep shots. I think they hit 3 passes of 30-plus yards, whereas the Bills didn't hit any. But Josh Allen made 3 incredible throws that Sherfield and Diggs could not bring down. And that's definitely a big difference in that game. Mahomes was incredible. I'm going to tell you right now, this guy's the best quarterback on planet Earth. I have no doubt about that. I think he's the best of all time. Incredible. We all know his story. But they exposed another beat-up defense in back-to-back weeks. And I obviously have been giving way too much credit to these battered teams, which in the regular season never hurt me. I feel like the injury reports and not caring too much and worrying most about the market and how the line's reacting to those injuries. I put so much equity in that. I don't think it's really working out in the playoffs. Every little piece matters significantly when it comes to playoff football. But I don't think it's not the case this week versus Baltimore, who's not only healthy, but hungry like a rabid fucking dog. A team who clearly knows that to be the best, you have to beat the best. And trust me, this is a team that wants all the smoke. A true athlete, a competitor, a boss. A boss is one who guarantees he's going to meet the other boss, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. And whenever this Ravens team, whenever their competency got called into question, they embraced this type of spot all year, playing with unmatched swagger and physicality. Just thinking back to 2 games where there's so much hype on their opposing teams and the Lions and the 49ers, and they put the beat down on both of them. Jim, you said it last week. This is the only team remaining without a hole. It's so hard to find a hole, whether it's numerical or if it's, the PFF grades down the line, every single position or metric. It's extremely incredible how this Ravens resume is truly impressive. And they proved it again on Sunday by trampling the Texans. The Ravens defense, incredible start to finish. Didn't allow Houston to get into the red zone, not even once. Lamar Jackson, this offense I talked about a little bit, they adjusted at half. D'Amico Ryan certainly surprised Lamar Jackson with the blitz because this Houston defense, they only blitzed at the bottom 5 rate in the league, and then they blitzed an incredible amount, 50% plus against Baltimore. And it was clear as day when Lamar Jackson came back out at half. He knew what he was up against, and he completely beat it to shit. And he knows what he's going to be up against Spagnuolo and KC. He knows the blitz is coming. But after the adjustments at half, scored on all 4 drives. 3 of them were touchdowns. And this matchup, I love this matchup between KC and Baltimore because this Kansas City offense has not played a defense quite like this Baltimore defense. They have 2 of the best coverage linebackers, which I think is extremely important with how much field they're able to eat up. This is 2 top 10 coverage linebackers in the NFL. And I think that's going to make a huge difference because what did Mahomes do all night is he picked on 32-year-old A.J. Klein, who was eating potato chips on his couch a few weeks ago. He gets called into action and has to play against Travis Kelce, one of the best players, best tight ends in the league. And he actually posted the worst PFF grade I think I've ever seen last game, a 23. His coverage grade was a 17.5. So it's going to be a huge difference playing against A.J. Klein compared to Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. Then you got Kyle Hamilton, who's a jack of all trades, adds so much dimensions to defense. You could man him up on Travis Kelce. You could line him up over Travis Kelce and send him off the edge on a blitz. He's one of the best, most efficient blitzers in the NFL. Whether it's DB, linebacker, no matter what, he gets to the quarterback at a high rate. And if you look across this defensive front, where's the weakness? From the left end to the right end, they're strong. And I just, I talked about this before. What has KC Mahomes done against top 10 defenses? There's really only been 3 teams who grade out in the top 10 in the defensive category. And the Jets, we all know that Mahomes struggled through 2 interceptions. They went 0 for 4 in the red zone. The Dolphins twice, they played him twice. Hey, they played great when everybody was out in their home field, in their perfect environment, and only 14 points when they were partially healthy. The Miami Dolphins, that is. And the Bills 2 times. Great when they're forced to start A.J. Klein, no Benford, Bernard, or Taylor Rapp. Only 17 points when this team was fully healthy. This KC offense is going to be put to the ultimate test this weekend, in my opinion, against a healthy elite defense on the road. And by the way, like you talked about, Thuney, the fact that he's out is adding so much to my bullishness because not only is he the best pass blocking offensive lineman on the Kansas City Chiefs, but what is that going to do to the rest of the offensive line who is underperforming? The center, Humphrey, I forget what his name is. The center's obviously a very good player, but outside of that, this offensive line is going to be beat up. I don't know if he's going to play. He's got a pec issue, and that's going to be very hard to deal with when you got to punch defenders, especially guys on this Matabuke, on this Ravens defensive front. I think it's going to be a huge difference, and it's definitely adding to my bullishness. Now, how about this KC defense versus Baltimore offense? And you touched on this a lot. KC, I beat it probably too much last week. They can't stop the run, especially inside the tackles, and it was very clear that they needed to apply some reinforcements to get that job done. But this is exactly where Baltimore likes to attack, and they're more efficient. They're more efficient than the Buffalo Bills were, and the Buffalo Bills had an incredible amount of adjusted line yards this past week. Additionally, Willie Gay, their dedicated QB spy, is injured. This is the guy against Josh Allen, against mobile quarterbacks that they put and man him up on the quarterback. And if he's not there, there's going to be a big fall off between him and his backup. And in the passing game, like I talked about, Lamar's going to know the case. He's going to spam the blitz, and he will be ready. Historically, Lamar has struggled mightily versus the blitz, but he knows that, right? So what do you do as a quarterback that wants to be the best, like Lamar Jackson does? You work on it. Lamar Jackson historically was one of the bottom quarterbacks in the league every single year up until this year. He's third in EP or third in yards per attempt, only a 1.3% turnover-worthy play rate. That's good for second in the NFL. 9 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions against the blitz this season. Those are incredible numbers, man. And they're vastly different from what Lamar Jackson used to be. And it might speak volumes to not only the talent around him at the wide receiver position, at the running back position, but also I think Todd Monken in the scheme definitely makes a huge difference in what those numbers reflect. I mean, go ahead, people. I get it. Back Mahomes is a dog. I totally understand. I personally think that to win this game, Mahomes is going to have to be superhuman, which is certainly not out of his range. I don't want to say that's out of his range to be superhuman because he's that great. He's been that great. But against this defense, I am so willing to bet against it. Mahomes is going to be the best player on the field, but he's going against a 2-time MVP who's better than he's ever had been, has the better weapons than he ever has, the better scheme than he ever has, a much better roster across every single position, every positional group, a better coaching staff, in my opinion. And clearly this Ravens team is the most inspired team in the NFL at this point. So I like you, Jimmy. I moved on Ravens first half, -2.5, Ravens -3, Ravens double result. And this is going to be my biggest bet of the NFL season because I'm going to be parlaying a bunch of bets in with the Ravens money line, making sure I get on that money line heavier than any other spot, even though I'm not really concerned about the spread. I'm thinking about laying an alt spread. I'm still trying to get there, but I really like the Ravens to get the job done.
I agree completely. And, the Cheshire Cat hammering you for fading the Chiefs now for the third straight time. I would back the Chiefs. Back against the Fish confidently, against the Bills confidently. And I know so many people have made so much money off the Chiefs. And I wondered, are they going to be able to see both sides here? And if they do, then you will have to focus solely on Patrick Mahomes delivering. Because all of the things we've talked about, we haven't talked about how healthy the Ravens are right now, especially if Andrews is back. So you have Ravens first half, Ravens full game -3.5, double result. And did you have a fourth one? I
bet it at open. I actually have Ravens -3, but I'm probably going to end up with 3.5 in my pocket. I want to see where this market goes. And I will not, I will probably be on an alt line in some way, shape, or form. And to your point, Jimmy, I want to ask, what is the cap behind the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, what other than Patrick Mahomes?
I get the cap totally. That's why I knew there was so much money to be made. Because
but it's not. There's no cap other than Patrick Mahomes is the better he's the best quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes ATS as a dog.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I just, we're going to be inundated with Chiefs love, and I had planned on being on the Chiefs as well. So, but I capped my way off of it. Dutch Boy Fresh says Andy Reid. That's fair. But we're not talking about a schmuck over on the other sideline, Harbaugh. But if you want to say that there's a coaching advantage with the Chiefs over the Ravens, it's certainly not by a margin, but you can do that. And the line is moving towards the Ravens, and I expect it to continue to do so despite the cash on the other side. So let's. Sammy wanted me to go over the numbers here right now on the spread in total once more for the cash flow. There's 59,000 now, 359 tickets. So a few of them more are being counted since we started the show. 51% of the tickets are on the Ravens and 67% of the cash. Then 30% of the tickets and 51% of the cash is on the under. Dennis Garcia said that listening to your breakdown just made him more bullish on the under. And I have to admit, I followed the same pattern I think that the under is going to be in play. I think that the Ravens are going to run the ball, with impunity all day long. And the Ravens, it doesn't matter if you want to talk about Justice Hill or Gus or whoever you want to talk about. They're not really elite running backs. They're just in an elite system. And I'd be shocked to see huge runs broken in the game. I think it'll just be, death by 1,000 cuts. And I do think that death is coming for the Chiefs. I think it's all over here. And I love that there's going to be, huge, passionate Chiefs backers throughout the week, which makes it more fun. And of course, you have Flash in the house on the Chiefs. A lot of people here, backing the Chiefs. Cheshire Cat, bullish. Smoke Tree, bullish. And then that's what makes it fun. It's not us going against each other. It's us going against the books. And it's part of the fun being on opposite sides. Now, I thought about first half and full game. I'm going to be on full game, but instead I went for the double result. I thought that would give me an extra push for a big score at the end of the game. But I thought about doing
get that at, Jimmy.
I got it plus 105.
Me too. Hey, one thing I want to mention to chat is if you're betting the double result at FanDuel or DraftKings or any of the public books, you're leaving you're leaving margin on the table, because offshores is definitely where you want to be betting double results. You'll never find a line on FanDuel or DraftKings that gives a better double result odds than you will offshore on Bovada or the many others that there are.
Enough flush ounces if you want the underweight. I get it because the public will come in on the day of, but I am concerned that this keeps going down. I really am. I'm really concerned about that. So much so that I'd rather just bet like a regular unit on, because I bet much more on the double result and the Ravens full game. Just a unit on the under, and then look to hit it again if it does go up on game day, because it will take till game day. It's not going to be. I don't think it moves to the over until game day. And I also don't, and I could be so wrong here, but the people talking about how weather is going to be such a big issue, I do not believe it will be. I do not believe it will be. So there is our breakdown for the AFC Championship. We are both bullish on the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm relieved to some extent that I don't need to have all my cash riding on Mahomes being superhuman, and I could back the better football team. And
I wanted to say something, Jimmy, about what Sky Dragon is talking about right now. If they go all out to stop the run, they were lucky. They dodged 3 beautiful passes on routes that were won by Stephon Diggs and Trent Sherfield downfield in the breadbasket. 3 receivers could not make the catches. At some point that's not like, those are 3 balls on the money. They're going to come down with them eventually. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, after dropping passes all year, came down with them this past game. And I believe the Ravens receivers are much better, all the options, than there are for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they come down with those big shots.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited about the game here. We'll be live for the AFC Championship. And, when you hear from Sammy saying, I'll sleep fine at night if I lose taking Mahomes and Reed as a dog over a field goal. I get that. My real feeling at some point this afternoon, early in the afternoon, was I'm going to really be angry at myself if the bias after cashing on the Chiefs 2 games in a row kind of pushes me too far into backing them a third time. And then I sort of broke out of my expectation to back the Chiefs here plus the 3.5. So it's funny how that we can use opposite storylines to either lead us into a bet or take us off of a bet. All right, that was extremely enjoyable, Cap, and the big game is on Sunday and we'll be live for it. Let's move on to the NFC Championship game. Detroit Lions 14-5, 6-3 on the road at the San Francisco 49ers 13-5, 6 and I should have changed that, right? It's 6-3 at home, right? Yeah, 6-3 at home. Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Beautiful weather here in Santa Clara. 68 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 4 miles per hour, almost perfect weather. And here, we have the same sort of thing happening. Market not quite as much as blatant, I would say. But San Francisco has gone from 6.5 to 7. Now at Pinnacle, it opened at 7 at plus 105, and there's been an 8-cent move towards the 49ers. They're now at minus 103. So 8 cents of movement towards the 49ers. And then from a total side of things, this is a 51. It stayed at 51 since its inception here at Pinnacle, under 51 at minus 106. There was a time when the over 51 got juiced. Right now, the under 51 is juiced, and I bet it. Another interesting thing is not only did I kind of come into the capping thinking I was going to be on the Chiefs, I also thought I was going to be on the over in this football game. So I flipped and bet the under. I don't have a side at this point, and I was leaning heavily towards the Niners, and I kind of not heavy enough to bet it. So I want to talk it out with you guys before I move on a side, and maybe I just save it for live action. 48% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on the San Francisco 49ers. 55% of the tickets and 72% of cash is on the over. Here we go. Lions come in off a 31-23 home victory over the Buccaneers in the NFC divisional round to take them to the NFC championship for the first time in 32 years and just the second time in franchise history. Buccaneers outgained the Lions 408 to 391. Goff was 30 for 43 for 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Amon St. Brown caught 8 for 77 touchdowns. Sammy Laporta looked healthy, caught 9 passes for 65 yards. The over 4.5 receptions that you cashed was a plus money player prop. Jahmyr Gibbs ran 9 times for 74 yards and touchdown, caught 4 for 40. They went 6 of 14 on third down. They're 9th in the NFL, converting 41.3% of third down opportunities. They went 3 of 4 in the red zone. They're the second best red zone offense in the league, scoring touchdowns on 66.2% of red zone drives. So that was my, we talked about red zone percentages all year long. So going into the cap, I know that the Lions are the second best red zone offense and the 49ers are the best red zone offense. So that was sort of probably what was dictating my thought process around being on the over. The pass rush looked strong, 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. They came in as the worst, tied with the Rams as the worst pass rush in the playoffs, ranked 23rd. 2.4 sacks a game, but they look good. 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. They got interceptions from C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Derek Barnes. Buccaneers were 4 of 12 on third down. The Lions' third down defense has been good all year, 10th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 36.8% of the time. The Bucs were perfect 3 for 3 in the red zone. We've seen it all year. Lions are the 4th worst in the league, allowing touchdowns on 64.4% of red zone drives. And the Lions' defense is a problem. They're 27th in EPA per play against the pass and 25th in drop back success rate. Obviously, the Deebo Samuel's injury is a crucial part of this story. And at this point, I don't think Deebo is going to be in the lineup. I think that because it's the same shoulder, and we'll get into that in a second, that it's probably best to think we can beat the Lions without Deebo Samuel and have them healthy for the Super Bowl. Detroit is 31st in yards allowed to opposing WR1s. And has allowed a 100-yard receiver in 5 straight games. In 2 playoff games, the Lions defense has given up 833 yards and 7.2 yards per play. The 49ers offense finished the regular season ranked number 1 in offensive DVOA and EPA per play. And now Deebo is a big part of whether they are the best offense in the league or not. This year's quarterbacks versus the Detroit Lions have an average passer rating of 93.3. That's a higher passer rating this year than Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Stafford, and Josh Allen. Jonah Jackson was injured in the first half with a knee injury. He didn't return. He's undergone surgery for a slight meniscus tear. He's not going to be in the championship game. That's a big loss for them. Brock Wright was knocked out of the game in the second half. He left with a sling around his, wearing a sling. He is not likely, very doubtful for this one. That's a big loss. They have Laporta and Ferkser are the only 2 tight ends on the roster. So they've signed Zach Ertz. What is Zach Ertz going to be able to deliver this late in the year? He is a veteran. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what he is. If he's going to be used, is he going to be a decoy? I don't have those answers at this point. Jared Goff is 4-8 against the spread as an underdog outdoors against a team with a winning percentage above 65%. The only game from this season that fits that sample is the 38-6 road loss against the Ravens. This will be the Lions' first outdoor game since December 10th and their second since October 22nd. That was a 38-6 debacle in Baltimore. Now they went 3-2 straight up and against the spread on the road in outdoor games this year. They averaged just 18.8 points per game. Will Goff be able to move the ball outdoors against the 49er defense that finished number 6 in EPA allowed per drop back and gave up the 5th fewest yards per attempt? My answers are no. But not no enough at this point to back the Niners at 7. No, I think the answer no is enough to take the under 51. The Niners coming off an underwhelming 24-21 victory at home versus the Packers in the NFC divisional round. It was good enough to get them in the conference finals for the 3rd straight year, and they get to host it this year after playing on the road the last 2. Purdy looked very pedestrian. He missed targets all night. 23 of 39 for 252 yards in the touchdown. He didn't have the swagger that I'm used to seeing him have. McCaffrey ran 17 times for 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 7 for 30. George Kittle caught 4 for 81. And the fracture, well, it's not fractured, but Deebo Samuel hurting the same shoulder where he had the hairline fracture earlier in the year is a big problem. Now they have the extra day rest, but I truly don't expect Deebo to be in the lineup. So Jawan Jennings, he looked pretty good. He caught 5 passes for 61 yards. Where was Brandon Ayuk? 3 catches for 32 yards. You need your WR1 rolling against the Detroit Lions. I imagine that a lot of gamblers are going to be on Brandon Ayuk props because of how bad the Lions are against the WR1 and because they expect them to have a bounce back game here. They were just 1 for 1 in the red zone. This is the best red zone team in the league, scoring touchdowns on 67.7% of the time. They were only in the red zone once because the offense didn't look very good. I mean, it's pretty easy to say, they were fortunate to get that victory. The pass rush that came into the game tied for 7th in the league, averaging 2.8 sacks per game, did not record a sack. Nick Bosa had 5 of the 6 quarterback hits. If nobody else on the pass rush is getting to the quarterback, then you can double Bosa and make things very easy. The Packers went 7 of 13 on 3rd down. Their 3rd down defense has been a problem all year. 27th in the league, allowing opponents, the 49ers 3rd down defense, of course, I'm talking about, allowing opponents to convert 41.7% of 3rd down opportunities. The Packers went 2 for 5 in the red zone. The red zone 49er defense is okay, 12th in the league, allowing opponents to score touchdowns 53.1% of the time. We spoke last week about the 49ers' weakness against the run. They finished 26th in EPA allowed per rush. And then we just watched, Jones have a huge day and the Packers control the clock. So I believe that the Lions are not going to be able to get what they want through the air, and they're going to have to run the ball. That takes me towards the under. The 49ers have incredible offensive efficiency, but they run the slowest tempo on offense in the league. And they're going to want to keep Goff off the field, and they're going to want to be in control of the ball for 37 minutes of the football game. That's led me to the under, and it has me with a lean of the Niners, nothing more than a lean at this point. Take it away, my man. Oh, and my dude says everyone and their mama's on the Ravens, my dudes. I'm not sure, my dude, where you are. Is that just your mama and the friends that are surrounding her in the kitchen right now? Because I would read about that, my dude. Take it away. This is our NFC Championship, Troy. Lions, 49ers.
This was a tough game for me. Because I'm kind of like you. I was sitting like you with the Lions in my pocket. I did bet the Lions when it opened at +7, but I think you make some really compelling points to the under. I think I might get there by the end of this. Last week when we discussed the Niners-Packers game, I talked about my concerns about the 49ers on the spread and why I like the Ravens more on the spread, and that's because I thought that the Packers were a bit of a wild card. They were clearly playing like a completely different team towards the latter half of the season, especially late in the season. And my biggest concern last week was how effective is Aaron Jones going to be in the running game? Defensively, I think we've seen some vulnerabilities, rarely, but we did see some vulnerabilities with the San Francisco defense, who has been great down the stretch, but I think we got our answer, in my opinion. The 49ers, I think they were extremely fortunate to win that game. I'm not saying that the Packers are a better team by any means, but Purdy got away with an early pick-6. Both teams missed some field goals. So take it for what it is. That game, they were lucky to sneak away with it. Now I'm saying they're lucky. They might have I think they got jumped on a little bit. They got surprised by how good the Packers were. And the Lions, on the other hand, I don't want to even say the other hand because I think that they didn't put out that, it wasn't that compelling of a performance, but they did have the 2 highest graded players in all of the divisional round, and both of them were on their offensive line. And if one thing we seen was how a good offensive line kind of negates some of that defensive pressure that the 49ers depend on from a defensive standpoint. Goff, he was a solid game manager like we expect from him. He didn't make a lot of mistakes, but he wasn't incredible by any means. He just did what was asked of him. And I don't know how much of a leash he has in Detroit, meaning I don't know how much is he given the keys to the car? Is he allowed to change the play at the offensive line at the line when he sees the defensive set? I don't know if he has that because it doesn't seem like it based on the cadence and just how the game flow goes. And defensively with this Lions team, I agree that they're a little bit lackluster against opponent team passing, but I see things a little bit different than most people when it comes to this defensive for the Lions, especially with all their pieces in place. But they allowed 350 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks to Baker Mayfield. 170 of those passing yards, 2 touchdowns came from 2 drives, one before half and one when they were down 14 and what fantasy pros or fantasy heads would call garbage time. And this is a huge problem with the Lions defense that we see on repeat every single week. They put out a shell defense before the half in garbage time that is just so easily exploitable. And I mean, the Bucs were just converting on third downs at will. Mike Evans had some incredible catches to get him in the end zone before the half. And if you take away one of those drives, these numbers change drastically for Baker Mayfield. It's just something that stuck out to me like a sore thumb. And how did the Lions and the 49ers match up specifically? Once again, my question is, will the Lions be able to run the ball effectively? I think the answer is yes. You have the best run blocking offensive line in the NFL. And I don't want to doubt myself. I mean, we've seen what the Packers and the Cardinals were able to do on the ground versus team. And the Cardinals is just something that I can't get out of my mind because I've seen them run the ball. And we're so successful, so efficient on offense against the 49ers team. I know this is a different spot, right? You're going to get a full-blown effort out of this 49ers team. Are they giving much effort against the Cardinals? Probably not. But you saw outside zones, pitches, and sweeps working. So if we see more Gibbs, I personally hope the Lions play more Gibbs because he's definitely going to be more corollary to what Aaron Jones performance that we had just seen. And I think they'll have some success behind, this historically great offensive line. And I do think that Goff on the road outdoors is definitely a very concerning thing. His numbers aren't that bad, though, when he's playing against San Francisco in general. He grew up in Northern California, played at Cal, Northern California. And his numbers against San Francisco, be it against a much worse defense early in his career with the Rams, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 63% completion rate, and he's 7.7 yards per attempt. Not too bad, but this is not the same Niners defense at all. So take it for what it is. Just thought it was at least a note to be made. The Lions defense versus this San Fran offense, it's hard to imagine where the Lions have much success. But at the same time, we just seen what Purdy did. He was missing guys on the reg. He couldn't throw a pass, it seemed, to save his fucking life. I'm seriously surprised at the San Francisco 49ers, but that's what great teams do. They win games like that when it's ugly. And they were able to come out with it. And I know that the sentiment is this defense is trash. Melifanu, Branch, McNeil, Hutchinson, those are 4 guys that grade out in the top 10% in their position. I'd like to believe that if the Packers could have some success versus this team, the Lions could have some success versus this team because people were down the Packers defense. And we thought the same thing, that the 49ers were just going to be able to manhandle them offensively. Maybe that is the case. Maybe Purdy puts it together and is able to slice this defense. That's what I would be thinking in the regular season if I hadn't seen what I just seen. So I don't want to be recency bias. You talk about it, Jimmy. You talk about it till you're blue in the face. I don't want to have too much recency bias going into this game. But I really believe that, like I was saying, the Packers had success. I think the Lions can. But my problem is the Aaron Glenn is an inferior play caller, or it's either that or the positional coaches are not teaching the fundamentals of the game. Because you see just complete blown plays in a 2-minute drill, essentially. And that's not what you're going to get out of the 49ers offense. They're not trying to run plays fast, get down the field, passing the ball every single down. That's where the Lions really get beat. I think that if if I was an offensive coordinator, I would speed up the tempo. I would throw the ball a shit ton. And I don't know if we're going to get that, but I do think the 49ers can have success on offense. It's just, will they be able to put together a scheme? You got to trust that Shanahan will be able to do so. But I expect to see a lot of zone coverage and blitz, especially versus these tight formations that we see from San Francisco. They play a lot of like deuce close and trips tight, receivers bunched up towards the line. You got Kittle, right? You're going to have Melifanu and Branch lining up over Kittle with the ability to blitz. We've seen those blitzes get home versus Tampa Bay. And I hope we see more Jalen Reeves-Maybin. He's a linebacker. He hasn't played a lot of snaps throughout the season, but towards the end of the season, he started coming in as a coverage, a pass down linebacker, specifically to guard the pass, and he's pretty good in coverage. I hope we see more of him. And just something I thought was interesting. If you look at the 49ers and the 30-point offensive performances that they had, who they did that against. They did it against the Cowboys, which was a very impressive performance, but we see what the Packers were able to do to the Cowboys. They did it against Pittsburgh in week 1, the Rams, the Giants, the Cardinals twice, the Jaguars, the Seahawks, and the Eagles. Not one of those teams outside of the Cowboys would we ever consider to be a top 10, top half of the league in the defensive category. And you look at the Lions' 30-point games, I mean, you get a little bit of the same thing, but it's a little bit more impressive, in my opinion. Seahawks, again, they're on both people's lists. The Packers, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Bears, the Saints, and the Vikings twice. The Bears, the Vikings, the Panthers, the Packers. I mean, they were able to put up 30 points against those defenses. So, I agree with you, Jimmy, on the under. It's so hard for me. I feel like I don't know what to expect still out of this 49ers team. I don't see the Lions ever being able to pull away from this game based on how Aaron Glenn and this defense is coached. I don't think they'll ever be able to pull away, and it's really hard to feel comfortable on the money line. I was considering the money line like some of the guys in the chat, but I just couldn't get there. But I do have concerns that 49ers can run up a score and put up a big number on this team because get Goff in a negative game script without the play action. And I think it's going to be all said and done for the Detroit Lions. But I do see some small value on the Lions. Nothing distinct. I did play the +7 at open, and I thought we'd be under a 7 at this point. We're not there yet. I'm not very excited I'm not extremely confident in this play like I am with the Ravens, but I do think that the Lions are going to be the right side when it's all said and done. I'm going to consider the under because I think the under in both games are going to be live.
Does this mean that you're talking Lions money line?
No, yeah, I was thinking about the Lions on the money line. I just could not get there because I just don't see. I'll never feel comfortable if the Lions get out ahead early. I feel like the 49ers are going to be able to put together a comeback and snatch back that lead because this defensive play calling, I can't tell if it's the defensive play calling at this point or if it's how this coverage unit is being coached, because it's just whenever they have a lead, the other team just marches straight down and gets them back in the game. It's just too consistent. And I don't feel that confident with it.
It's because the team that's behind the Lions, if you're behind, you're generally not running the ball over and over and over again. And when you talk about Melifonwu, you talk about the elite defenders on the Lions. They're not elite in a pass defending. I mean, Melifonwu, when he comes up and comes in on the pass rush, I mean, it's dangerous. He's dangerous. He's so good. He's so fast. He's such a great tackler. There's so many things he does well, but the Lions' issues defending the pass is the reason why I ended up moving on the under, funny enough, because I would bet that Deebo Samuel's not out there. And you take the creativity of using Deebo in so many different facets out of the arsenal for Shanahan. And all of a sudden it's, like you said, Melifonwu on Branch on Kittle. Ayuk has got to have a monster day. He was invisible last week. Why is that? I mean, will you then need Jawan Jennings to make big plays down the field? So, when I finished everything, I think the Niners win this football game. And if they have to do it without Deebo Samuel, I think it changes the strategy enormously. And then I think
because their strategy last week was with Deebo Samuel in the game. And just like I talked about with Kyle Hamilton, adding dimensions to the defense, Deebo Samuel does the same for the offense with the quick passes, the running game, right, on jet sweeps. There's just so many ways they incorporate him that it changes everything.
It's I'll be fascinated to see how you end up betting everything. So you have right now, you have the Lions plus 6.5,
I have him +7.
plus 7, and that's your only action at this point.
It's my only action.
I'm on the under 51. I have some interest in the double result. My SGP, I'll tell you this, it will include over 1.5 touchdowns from Purdy. And I know that there's no reason to believe in that angle here. It's just going to be for a rec SGP. But the reason why I think it's just, I think the biggest problem, the biggest issue in this entire football game is the Lions' inability to stop the opposition's passing attack. And I just think it's the elephant in the room. I think it's the biggest problem, and I imagine it'll be fixed in the offseason, and the Lions will be a juggernaut next year.
Don't you think Shanahan sees that? He's gonna employ the old pass to get ahead, run to win the game strategy.
Well, it's tough running on the Lions. So if anything, you know how CMC had 7 catches for 30 yards last week. I bet you he has 9 catches for 65 yards this week. I think that him out of the backfield will be used as another rusher. That's the problem with not having Deebo. Deebo's that perfect receiver for those short passes. I think it'll be a lot of short passes. I don't see how you win, especially with CMC. You don't want to just keep running into the teeth of the defense. I don't think. I think you got to be more creative than that. But we know the Lions are the 5th fastest offensively, with the play clock, 5th fastest in the league, and the 49ers are the slowest. So you're going to have the Lions moving so quickly to try and tire out the Niners defense, get them, because they're a nasty defense. And then you're going to see the Niners going so slowly to keep the Lions offense off the field. It's going to be fascinating. And I think it leads us all to the under. And then I bet when Deebo Samuel is announced out, I think it drops another half point. And my whole initial idea was I was too focused on how bad these two red zone defenses are. But then I started realizing, well, look at what the 49ers offense did last week. They got 1 chance in the red zone.
Right.
Am I sitting here thinking the Lions or the 49ers are going to have 5 chances in the red zone without Deebo Samuel and with the way Purdy looked last week? And having to use Jawan Jennings and Ayuk and knowing that everyone knows that Kittle right now, if there's no Deebo, it's not Ayuk the straw that stirs the drink. It's Kittle now, from a passing standpoint. So, I'm interested in the 49ers double result. I'm interested in putting together the SGPs and how we're going to handle this live. But I don't know if I'm interested in the 7 at this point. I don't know if I can get there. And Troy, you're on the +7. Where are you? What are you? You're leaning towards the money line. Are you leaning towards the under as well? What else?
I'm leaning towards under in both of these games. I was leaning towards the money line. I'm probably not going to end up getting there. And I'm going to I really want to focus on how and to continue to hammer the Ravens this weekend. That's going to be my spot. That's where I want to have my investment.
I'm with you. And I wonder, I'm going to sit and think over the next, while, what spots, what can I do to add to it? Because, as a 49er backer and fan, I would rather, obviously not really financially here, but I'd rather the Ravens don't move on. And I've been wearing the 2013 Super Bowl hat all year, and that was Ravens 49ers. So these 2 games are going to be absolutely riveting, and I can't wait to not only host NFL Pub Hub on Sunday at noon Eastern, but we're going to have both games live streamed with our live action. My dude says Greenlaw going to shut down Laporta. Says Goff's favorite target says Goff
Yeah.
Goff make shit decisions. Laporta looked healthy, which is a
Oh
danger
man.
for all teams.
Hey, that's a really good point. And I skipped that on my notes, is that you got Greenlaw and Fred Warner. Goff likes to attack the middle of the field. Coverage linebackers change how that works. So when you can't attack the middle of the field, you have to throw it to the sidelines.
You have to go to the sidelines.
And
Jared
Goff hasn't really been successful throwing it to the sidelines. So I think
it's such an important point. You can't, if you want to mess with the middle of the field against the Niners, everything has to go out wide. So it's an important point. Nice. Marcus McCarthy will be rolling with us on a Sunday. I love it. My dude says there's no way the Ravens win. My dudes, there's going to be a lot of cappers that feel that way and they're bullish with the Chiefs. There's going to be a lot of cappers who talk about the script and how NFL wants Taylor Swift to be in the Super Bowl. It's all going to work, I think, in the favor of people who want.
Yeah, how about that? You got Taylor Swift and Pfizer on one side, on the other side. No one else is talking about Pfizer but me, by the way. But that's what I'm telling you. Those are the guys that are pulling the fucking strings. They're the puppet masters. They're the magical unicorn fairy dust that you don't see. That's what they are. And on the other side, you got the old Super Bowl logo with red and purple. And if you know, the past 4 or 5 Super Bowls or whatever predicted exactly who's going to be in the Super Bowl by the colors in the freaking logo. It's just ridiculous.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. In review, we have Troy on the Ravens first half. That was -2.5.
First half -2.5.
Ravens -3 and the double result. I have Ravens -3.5 and the double result. Now, I want them live, but the one problem is that I fear I want to make sure that I have enough invested. And I think I do right now because it's most invested, but I really want to be heavily invested in this game. And I want to ensure that I have enough invested so that if I'm right, then I just sit back and pour myself another drink and not try to chase anything because you're not going to be able to live. That's the problem. If you're on a favorite and you're right, you're not going to get a chance to live bet them generally. So that's a bit of a fear. So I want to be heavily invested. Already at this point, it's the most I've invested in the game this year, but this is the one for me. And then I'm on the under 51 in the late game. I am thinking about being on the under. I think it makes sense to be on the under in the Ravens-Chiefs game and then possibly bet it again before kickoff and then maybe look to get in on it live. Troy's on the Lions +7. I'm on the under 51, and I'm still interested in the double result for the 49ers. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on that.
Hey, so I'm noticing this too. I really don't get to the totals because I like to see a fully developed market before I bet totals because I feel like the database has provided such an edge. But this is one of those spots where total opened up over 44 and it might close below 44. And if it closes below 44, the shit's going under. So maybe get yourself a little bit extra value by getting the 44, 44.5, which would have you now. But I do like the under there as well.
Yeah, I think of anything here, I'm going to sit with obviously we got so much work to do with these two games, as well as planning out our live strategy and maybe SGPs, and then we have a full card of action to cap tomorrow. But I'm interested in the maybe moving on that under tonight, just for a unit, have it in my pocket. I do. I think that's probably something that I want to do. That is our show, and we have just one left, and there might not be one. We might do something different for the Super Bowl where there's a whole bunch of us, capping it. So this could be it for Bankroll Blitz. But Troy, we really want you back in action with us again next year. And we will be talking all about that through the off season. But we have no show without you guys in the chat. Sky Dragon, the Cheshire Cat, my dude, Chip Plylar. What a group we have. Mac Beavers, Nick Sancho, Brian Stovall, Rob W., Marcus McCarthy, Rance. It's just a great, great group. Thank you guys for supporting us. Doug, Scott Young, 66 Slammy, Visa Joe. Thank you guys for supporting us all year. Blue Numbers, Court Wiley, Mac Beavers. What a great group. So we thank you guys. Truly, truly thank you guys for the support. Sammy Calmer, Terry Walker. and I cannot wait for these football games. So, and it's fun. My dude, all you guys that are on the other side, it adds more fun to it. So, and we respect your thoughts and your breakdowns enormously. And we're not up against each other. We're just up against the book. So, Norman Ross, thank you. Leonard Welch, thank you. And a big thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, who works tirelessly behind the scenes. Thank you for all that you do for us, Jose, my man. And let's go, my dude. Let's get that cash, man. Either you or me, but make sure it's one of us, right? Troy, any last words for the Cappers supporting the show, my friend?
Hey, it's been a hell of a run. It's been a great season. Being up here is a privilege. I love it. I love this community. It's a beautiful thing, as Dutch would say. And I just appreciate the opportunity. And I'd love to come back next season. So we'll be in touch, man. Looking forward to it. Let's get that cash this weekend, brother.
Let's go out there and get that cash. Set us all up for the Super Bowl. We need a violent bankroll for that one. So let's get that money right here in the conference finals. May your team not only win, but get you paid in full. Let's milk these bookies, man. Watch it! Hey, those bookmakers. Milk it.